What is up, everybody?
We're here.
We're here. Welcome to the Bearded Browns podcast. I know you guys have been waiting for us to go live, but it's happening today.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah, feels like that, dude, doesn't it? For real though,
Yeah.
it really
It's
does.
been a long time. Yes, we survived the apocalypse. I mean, the eclipse, right?
The apocalypse. We survived the tornadoes that we were supposed to get last week. The reason we didn't go live is because of storms from last week. But
exactly, we survived that and the eclipse, and we're here. We're here.
It's been weird.
It is.
We've had Easter week, tornado week, eclipse week,
and what's next week?
I don't want to know.
Some
things are just better left unknown. But we know that the Cleveland Browns are still here for now.
Well, they're in Cleveland, maybe moving to Brook Park by 2029. We'll see. But, we're here just like they are. I'm excited.
The biggest thing they're saying with the new stadium, honestly, Angel, is that if they're going to build the new stadium in Brook Park, shovels have to hit the ground by 2025 at least. Because it's going to take
next year
3 years to build the stadium.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. I'm ready for my house to be more money, man. I'm 10 minutes from that spot, man. I need some value in my reward over here. I've been fixing it up. I'm ready to Airbnb it for the Super Bowl. I'm ready to make some money off this thing. Whenever there's a Final Four or big concert, I'll leave for the weekend and just Airbnb, make money.
Not come back. Once I get in that stadium, dude, I'm not paying the outrageous prices they're going to ask for it. I'm not. I'm just going to sleep there.
Did you see the outrageous prices they were paying? They were asking people to pay for parking yesterday downtown.
It was like $80 and $90.
$90 for it's insane. That's part of the reason why I don't because my wife has been begging to go down to a game. I was like, we're going to pay like $100 of parking just straight up. And then you're going to have to pay for the ticket and then, a couple of drinks, whatever. But I was like, and it's not easy to get to because you have to park and then walk an eternity to get to the stadium.
Right.
I was like, that's why I don't go in the winter because, I'm not walking in the cold. I'm a freeze baby.
We've had that conversation a couple times.
That's why I want a dome.
Listen, man, I'm down for the dome. I am definitely not. Like you've said, we're at that age now. I don't want my beer sticking to my lips every time I put it to my mouth. There's just no, dude. No, I want to watch football comfortably, just like I do from home, and I save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we get the dome, there's going to be a sin tax. But is that another good question? Is that mainly going to be based on Brook Park?
Yeah.
Or is that going to be a Cleveland sin tax?
I think if it's in Brook Park, it might just be Brook Park. But I'm willing as a Strongsville native to pitch in for a dome because, to be honest with you, we'll make our money back. If I was a billionaire, I would call up the Haslams and say, listen, this is how much I can contribute because I want some of that money back. I don't want people paying $80 for parking when we can charge like $20.
Right.
And then, it'll be good. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there's Chad. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Chad is here.
He's got a little guitar in the background.
Chad. Let's go to guest cam. Boom. Chad's here, but he's not.
Chad is here, but he is not here. His mic is here.
Yeah, my mic is here. I'm here
too. That's even
spirit.
A good thing.
And I'm here in person.
I love that shirt, dude. That shirt is awesome.
Yeah, this is a little bit.
Oh, we can't hear him now, though. Hold on, that might be my fault, Chad. 1 second.
Yeah, he's got
I got the whole new setup, so I'm just making sure everything works correctly. Chad,
can you hear me?
Yes, it works.
Get it?
This could be. I have a good feeling about this show, and the technical difficulty curse might end right after the eclipse. I think that cleansed all technology issues for us.
Everything's coming together.
I'm actually going to bring up the eclipse because Chad is from California, and we got the awesome part of the eclipse, and Chad got
that was amazing. The tail end,
yeah.
basically.
Man. Yeah, we got about a 2/3 eclipse out here.
So I think it happened at like between 10 and I'll say around like 10 and like 11:45, something like that. But we got like we got our sun up there, and then our moon just came kind of like over, and it never got to complete darkness. So it was just sort of passing just below like a 2/3 coverage, but like a third of the way below, which is not what I expected. I sort of, for some reason, my brain didn't comprehend that the the moon would be moving like below the sun and just like missing part of it. So it got like dark-ish for like over the course of a half an hour, but if you were like inside, it just seemed like, oh, it's probably just a little cloudy. Like the sun's behind a cloud for a minute. So we didn't get that like whole extravaganza that you guys got. I had the glasses and we looked at it and everything, but not the same. Not from what I heard about what it looked like from Cleveland.
I think it's weird because the Earth's rotation honestly had a big fall in that all because in the beginning, the lower right chunk of the moon was starting to get covered up like this. And then at the end, it looked like it was just straight above. Like the Earth's rotation had to have something to do with it. That's my science class for the day, everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of trippy though, right? You expect it to just go like right across in a perfect like line, and it didn't.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's like, oh, I get it. It doesn't go straight. It's sort of going at at an arc.
Yeah.
Who knew that the Earth and sun and moon all being like globes would have some sort of arc pattern to them?
It was funny too because I seen an actual picture of the moon and it said for all you flat earthers and it showed like a rectangle across the moon like a shadow.
I saw that. I saw that.
Oh man, that was good.
That.
But yeah,
I thought it was kind of cool the line because I had some friends from work who are working out of Dallas and they're like, oh yeah, we get the full. I guess it was really cloudy there, so they sort of got cheated a bit. They're like, yeah, we get the full like line of complete coverage too. And I was like, Dallas to Cleveland? That's such an odd angle. I never would have expected.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the Strongsville area, and I was able to just go in my backyard. Me and the neighbors hung out with our kids, and I mean, they were not interested, our kids, but we as adults were like, this is the greatest thing ever. And it was like, they're like, you guys are lame, and we're gonna play in the swing set. So like it was cool to see like once the moon covered up the sun and like how dark it got. It was weird, creepy. I don't know, Mike's more in a country area than I am, but it was for a city, it was quiet for like a minute, 2 minutes, like just random birds chirping, just quiet. And then you heard the noise all over again, like 20 minutes later. But I've never, I mean, obviously it hasn't happened in hundreds of years, but never seen something that 200 years. But it was cool to witness that. I didn't think I would be as nerdy and excited until I saw it cover the sun. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm actually impressed by this.
I nerded out completely.
I did too. The only thing I kind of regret was having a Apple phone because everyone was like getting these cool pictures and I couldn't get anything. I'm like, dude, I'm getting the sun. And like my neighbors got, oh, look at this cool picture. I'm like, oh, you got an Android. Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know why their cameras pick up so much different of a picture.
It's weird.
I've always thought that, but that's kind of weird.
It is weird.
Well, that was the big Cleveland thing. I mean, man, what a weekend for you guys. Yes, the NCAA women's Final Four, and not maybe, the biggest women's Final Four of all time.
Hands down.
Swinging right into a big solar eclipse. I heard that some report, I forget where it was from, but there was like over 200,000 visitors to Cleveland over the course of this week.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nuts weekend.
Yeah.
And according to the mayor, like everything went according to plan, even from the Final Four to because there was a big eclipse celebration even by the Science Center downtown. they ended up having to clean it up this morning. But he said the city showed up and showed out, which is amazing to think that Cleveland is actually getting some recognition.
It really
Buddy
wasn't
sent me
bad.
something that like 38,000 people came to like the downtown Rock and Roll Hall and Science Center.
Yeah, they were
parties or
charging.
whatever.
We were just talking before you got on. They were charging $80 to $90 for parking.
Woo!
Because you had the home opener too that
Yes.
day too. So they.
Oh
they
my
made it
gosh,
feel
I
like-
forgot.
So yeah, you had your minute and a half event, and then 3 hours later it was the Guardians opener.
Guardians
And
opener. Yeah.
they whooped on them White Sox. I got to mention
Yeah.
that. I have to.
It was 5-0,
Man.
right? Yeah.
It's a
5-0.
bummer. It's a bummer that Bieber had to
Ooh.
get a season-ending surgery already. But man, I've been watching just the scores. I haven't gotten a chance to see any games yet, but sheesh, man, talk about some offense. These bats are
Unexpectedly
blowing parks
hitting,
up. Yeah.
That's what we
I think they're
needed.
number one in MLB right now in just scoring and RBIs both, and that's crazy.
And I believe still the youngest team in the league.
Yeah,
Really?
they're young.
Wow.
So you know what I said to the White Sox yesterday? I was like, "Hey, White Sox,
You suck.
damn White
Yes.
Sox." But yeah, we are a Browns podcast. So Chad, I need to ask you where you got that shirt at because I need to get one of those.
Oh, this is a thrift special. You're never gonna find this.
I
This
know
is
you didn't find that in
That's
California.
80s ish, right?
Oh,
I've had this for a while. Yeah, this is a legit thrift special. So I don't even know. Look at these sleeves.
Look
man.
at those
This is hockey-
it's almost like a 3/4 sleeve, but it's not. That is definitely barking the
There's like
80s.
this hockey sleeve like thing going on here. Like,
That's
I
Cleveland,
like
Cleveland,
that.
Cleveland, all the way across.
I was
and
gonna wear
then
my Nick
Browns
Chubb
on the bottom.
jersey, but I didn't. It's
Oh,
hot
Nick
here,
Chubb.
Chad. It's probably like California
It's
weather
70 here today.
70.
Nice.
My truck's at 82.
Oh, really? Wow. Well, maybe it was 82. I was inside.
That's a warm day.
So,
Did you guys
Chad-
just get snow like a week ago or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
see,
Well,
yeah,
you
we'll
know
probably
Cleveland.
We'll probably get snow next week too.
I
Oh
think
man, I could talk about Cleveland weather every day.
I think Ohio is the most bipolar state in the country, to be honest,
is.
with weather.
It
That is so
is.
funny. Well,
Man,
climate change, but I feel like that's just a weekly event in Cleveland for all of
It is.
history. Like it's global warming this week, and then it's global very, very colding
Cool.
next week.
Want to know what is crazy right now? Is I got all this new stuff. I got new lights. I got new monitors. I got a new mixer,
New
new
mic.
microphone, and everything's smooth.
Yeah. Strange.
I'm
Shit.
hyped about the new mixer. Did
Knocking
the
on
picture
wood.
you sent of that thing is
That
that's
thing's
money.
massive.
It was, dude. It was worth it, honestly, because after the show, I don't have to edit. This thing will record all sound only, so I can upload it right afterwards, like that. It's just zero problems.
Nice, yeah. And you want all the sounds that we say and make
Right. Yes.
uploaded
Absolutely.
immediate. No time to go. No time to go through it and clean it up. Like we want every word out there to the people.
And then I got mute buttons, so I can mute you guys as well if needed.
He's like, oh, you talk too much. Boom.
So no, like when the actual season comes in and we're actually talking and we start getting angry, I could just be like, "Oh no, we can't say that." Like,
Yeah.
One new mixer and he's getting a god complex. He's
yeah.
like, silence.
you have
It's
to.
my opinion and my opinion only.
Not that. Just we gotta. The FCC won't let me be. Oh, that's a quote from an Eminem song. Look at that.
Right. That's right.
Put that in.
I pulled that out there. That's a new reel right there waiting to happen.
Uh-huh. This podcast is the most hip hop Browns podcast
Yeah.
of all of them.
Oh,
So
Just
dude.
that with that comment alone.
now everyone
yeah.
knows.
Oh man, we got the bass too.
Bring it on. Bring it in.
So
So what do we got? What do we got on the books for today?
first and foremost, I wanted to talk about the white face masks coming back. I love it, and I know Chad, you are an advocate for the Browns uniforms. I think Angel is as well, but not as bad as you say you are. There's supposed to be some changes actually coming to the Browns uniforms this year as well. I'm looking forward to that. I do like the whiteout uniforms. I'll go first. I like the whiteout uniforms. I like the color rush all brown with the orange numbers and letters. I like that. I don't really know what else you could add to the uniform besides the white face mask. Like, even if we do the color rush, are we still going to use the white face mask? Like the brown color rush, you know what I'm talking about?
That would be dope, actually.
That just
With the
that
white
one
face.
part.
The
would stick
story
out.
I read, I thought they said they were just defaulting like white face mask is like the
thing.
default every uniform face mask now for that helmet.
Yes.
It's the new color. They're subbing out brown for the white.
And they used to use it back in the day in the early 2000s. Even in the early 90s, they were using just the white face mask. And then they went to the black or the brown face mask. I like it because it makes the players, even if they're wearing like the brown jerseys and white pants, it makes them stick out more. I love it. I love the white face masks. Angel?
Yeah, I think the white face mask is amazing. I think anything you do to add flavor to something so basic, so simple, I should say, adds little spice to it. I love it. I would love to see the white on white face mask, white helmet, white uniform. I would even go and say, I hope they, and I know a lot of old heads are going to get upset. Let's just make the all white like the home uniform. I love that idea, but I'll probably get a lot of run back on that. But I just
Chad's
want
rubbing his
something
beer,
new.
dude. He's ready to speak.
I just love that white uniform, all white uniform. I'm tired. Not that I'm tired of the orange and brown. That's something I've always loved. But I think adding another that continuously switch things up with all white would be great.
Yeah. I remember my reaction when I saw the story on the white face masks, and it was, wait, what color were our face masks before?
It was great.
And I feel like everybody was like messaging me to like the Browns backers, like, dude, we got these new white face masks. And I was like thinking, like, what color were our face masks? I was like, maybe they were gray. Like, I just couldn't really remember. But I think one of the funniest things about the uniforms is Browns fans are a level of passionate in general above the normal. But like when it comes to uniforms, Browns fans are like, we're changing up the uniforms. Like, it's so excited. We're going to have a huge release party. And it's all like all these like 6 months of like teasers on social media and stuff. And everybody's like eating it up. And then I just feel like every single time, the reason I hate the Browns uniforms, I don't hate them, but the reason I like hate the uniform topic is then they like release them and I'm like, just like the face mask, like, wait, are these different from the last time?
The orange.
It's always like, yeah, the orange is oranger. It seriously was my favorite topic of all time.
Yeah,
I was like, that's exactly how I feel every time. It's like, did they change them? Didn't they just like go back to the early 99 2000s ones? I was like, well, yeah, sort of, but
so we added our own little twist to it. Well, what's the twist?
So, but I will say this as the biggest hater of like, it's not even like orange and brown. It's a unique color scheme. For Ohioans, like, oh, Baldwin Walls. Nobody else knows where that is or even what that is. They're not like, and then you might have heard of Kent State or Akron or Ohio or a couple because of like maybe they made a March Madness tournament, but like BG, nobody. Unknown around the country.
That's Bowling Green for all you people that really don't know.
Yeah, it's just an unknown. So I know some people that are like, yeah, we kind of have like the Bowling Green color scheme. Nobody knows that. To the whole country, orange and brown is a pretty unique color scheme. I've weirdly changed my tune. I completely agree with Angel that I think the coolest uniform we have currently is the white uniform with the white helmet.
It's dope,
and I think the only reason it like struck me is like, oh, this one is so different because of the white helmet. It's the only one I look at and I'm like,
exactly,
it's like a totally different color scheme.
It's like we look like a whole new team on the field.
Yeah, I'm coming around a little bit. Like I did like the color rush. The new ones they did, despite the fact that they weren't a giant change, are the best ones they've probably had in a pretty long time. Like the players were hyped about them, which is kind of a big deal, whether we really want that to be the case or not. The players want to have dope uniforms. They want to feel like they look pretty good. And I don't think anybody's picking a team based on that. But if they're on the team, you want that wardrobe to look sweet. But I do think the white face mask thing is cool. It's almost like why weren't they white the whole time? It looks it's natural. It looks like it's supposed to be. Like I don't know how they ever came off of that. I guess I just didn't really recognize it. But and yeah, I'm with you, man. Orange helmets, white face masks, fine. But if they could pop on those whites every once in a while,
that would be clean.
I still have that Njoku picture, like hunched over the bench with his white on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is dope. With the visor
the coolest
on.
Browns pictures with the visor in front. Oh, I love it. But yeah, so as far as uniforms, I give probably the most hate, but I will say they're steering in the right direction right now. So
yeah, I agree. The uniforms is like the only thing we probably could get excited about for some time because our team sucks so bad.
Don't say that out loud. Man.
I mean,
it's true.
our team was so bad. There's like, and they're trying to sell season tickets, so they're like, oh, we're gonna come out with a new concept uniform. Everybody's like, yes, I'll buy some tickets now because our uniforms are amazing. And
it just you need something positive to talk about when your franchise stinks, and it's not. We've talked about this before. It's kind of nice that that's not the case anymore. Like now, a uniform story is just a uniform story because if you're paying attention, the team for the last 4 years pretty competitive. So,
do you think those uniforms actually hype the team because we've only wore them 3 times this year, and I think we won all 3 games.
I don't know, but I do know athletes, and they love a good uniform, man. They really like when they get to wear like the newer uniforms and when they think they look pretty slick. And what was surprising is to me, white has always been plain, and I've never liked the white uniforms. I used to be like, oh, do brown pants and an orange top, like do that like the old pictures of Brian Sipe type of ones, or like the color rushes I thought were so cool, like the brown on brown, like that's a nice change. I've never really liked the white, and then they came out with that white, and I think it was immediately my favorite. And when those released, I feel like the team was pretty psyched to wear that. Oh, yeah. So I don't know, maybe there's something to it.
Look good, feel good, play good. That's what I think. I look good. I feel good. Now let me go out there and play good. It's a mental thing. It's
it
not
helped that they were pretty good this year.
Yeah,
too,
but if they were running out with Brady Quinn, they probably would have sucked.
I was just gonna say,
burn those jerseys.
In 2001, I'm not so convinced that you could put anything on them, and they were winning games. But I think when they're good, you can give that little just extra oomph.
Angel did make a good point earlier about Tim Couch, obviously the number 1 pick in the 99 draft. And I think it was you, Angel, that made this point that said if it weren't for the rest of the team, Tim Couch could have made it to a Super Bowl in the 5 years he was here.
I posted a picture. I do a player spotlight every day on my Facebook page, but I did.
At least you're not like the 33rd team. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did
you do one every day?
Yeah, I do a different player every day. I go from like 60s to. I've been recently doing one after 99. I try to stay away from 99 because I get more of an engagement, like in the 60s, 70s.
Okay.
But Tim Couch has got a lot of. I was surprised how much engagement Tim Couch got, and a lot of defense of his coming to his side saying he got screwed. And I posted that thinking I hope people stick up for this guy because at the time we were like, what's wrong with this dude? Now hindsight, you're like, man, that team sucked, man. We screwed him. We should have just started Ty Depner and let him get hurt. And just save Tim Couch, I thought considering he did pretty good considering the team was just bandaged together.
I think the numbers probably back you up because I think Tim Couch still holds several franchise records or is in the upper echelon for franchise in passing, yards per attempt, total passing yards, touchdowns. And he did not play here that long.
5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a couple of season records, I think, or at least he's towards the top, and then overall career stuff. I'm not that far off. I think I don't know if I feel comfortable with the multiverse take that he's winning the Super Bowl, but I think it's hard to argue that he would have played really well had he been drafted onto like this version of the Browns team. I think he came out of college with the skill set to be a legit quarterback. He probably has like a, I don't know, Matt Ryan-esque ability to him. And he never had a shot. He just never had any receivers worth a darn. He never had a good offensive line.
Kevin Johnson would have been a number 2 on a typical team, but Kevin Johnson was his best receiver.
That's
put that in perspective. Yeah. I mean, his numbers were 11,131 yards, 64 touchdowns, 67 interceptions. And he only had 22 wins, 40 losses because the team was just horrible.
And then, it was on a really bad team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you try to throw a franchise together.
Yeah, in a rush, and it was a mistake. It's the reason they're probably building a new stadium sooner than later because they threw that together too. It just doomed from the start. But I'm glad eventually they're picking up the pieces and putting this organization back where it belongs.
I agree. Let's take a quick break. It's about time. I don't think we're actually streaming on anything right now because YouTube still hasn't. So with YouTube, you have to give your data to them, your private information, like every 3 or 4 months.
Oh,
and it takes like a 3 to 5 business days is what they say. I streamed the other day live, but it didn't seem to work today. I don't know, but and Facebook is Facebook. So I am recording all this, so I'll be able to upload it later. It's no big deal. But yeah, just so everybody knows, we are going to take a quick break, really quick, and we'll be right back. We're going to talk about. We got a lot more to talk about, not just uniforms and whatnot. You know, it's a big subject, but yeah, we'll be right back. What is up, everybody? Mike Wilkes here from the Bearded Browns podcast, letting you know that we're going to be working with Mistakes on the Lake Clothing. They have everything you need. Why not check them out? If you want to go to their store, it's 4542 Liberty Avenue in beautiful Vermilion, Ohio. You want to contact them? Their phone number is 440-670-3145. They have everything from Cleveland to Columbus gear. They have Lake Erie gear. Why not check it out? It's all great stuff you can get for your wife, your kids, your newborn. They even have onesies, shirts that say good moms and dads don't raise Michigan fans, just Ohio stuff, and it's awesome. So be sure to check them out. They have everything you need. Even the candles, custom coasters, can koozies, wine tumblers, phone grips, everything, stickers. It is awesome. Check them out. Do not be the mistake on a lake and regret this decision. Go and check them out.
You're building lifelong memories.
Lifelong memories.
Lifelong memories.
I didn't hear a thing you guys were talking about at all.
I was just telling them about my weekend at Kalahari and how I'm built nasty swimming in kids' pools.
Isn't it weird that they never have to get out to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, that's why I told. So I tell my wife. She's like, but do you smell these? I was like, babe, that's activating. There's something activating that smell. It's not chlorine. It's activating. It's lots more that you smell. That's the more activation. And she's like, I didn't know that. I'm like, that's why I don't swim in public pools. Yeah, problem. Sorry.
Play public pools.
You suck.
Yes.
So I think we should go to stadium talk. There's been some rumors again going around about the stadium, whether it's going to be $2 billion or $2.5 billion in Brook Park to rebuild, or $1 billion in Cleveland. That's obviously $1 billion to us is a lot, but to people that are billionaires is not. The revenue that's going to come in, not only from to the Haslam's want all revenue. They want the parking. If they were to build a Crocker Park around it, they want all that revenue as well. I think that in the long run, that's going to be a huge thing for them and the deciding factor at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you guys could agree to that. That's right now the city of Cleveland is getting all the revenue for parking.
And they're paying a lot.
Especially like the Muni lot. And
yeah,
if you build a stadium with parking, it's still going to have a giant parking lot where you could make it the new Muni lot, the Brook Park Muni lot. But
I would expect them to, if they're smart, they'll just call it the new Muni, because I feel like people are not going to stand for not having a Muni lot.
Yeah.
I like that. Did we just break the news there? The new Muni?
Yeah, there it is. The new Muni.
New Muni, yeah. I like it. I like
or you can have people just meet up at rapid stations and do tailgating and then hop on the rapid, which is going
to be located. That would be so fun if each rapid station was its own tailgate, and then you could get on the train at the end. I saw
the plans that they had mocked up is they're going to have the rapid station just drop people off. There's a walkway that you can walk from the rapid to the stadium. And what's even cooler about this too is like they want to build like not just a stadium, they want to do like shops. They want to build like a Crocker Park, which is an outside mall here, and restaurants and stuff around it, and obviously hotels. But it's a beautiful idea. That's why I think having it in Brook Park will help the beautiness of it, as opposed to just putting a blanket over a pig.
Is it pretty polarizing there as far as social media is tough, because per social media, it looks very polarizing. Like people are on both sides and they're both very passionate about their side. But sometimes that's only just the most passionate people, and the general public in Cleveland is a little bit more subdued. What do you guys feel going on there?
I personally think it's either yes or no. There's no middle people. Now you got a lot of, obviously the old heads are like, oh man, you need to play football in the snow and the mud, and you give them like logic, like, well, I mean that's, and you ask them like, have you ever seen like a different stadium like Dallas, or if you ever gone to Minnesota, go to the Vikings, have you ever seen the environment? Oh no, it's like once you experience that and you come back here, you're gonna be like, man, we need a new stadium.
You brought up Minnesota. The story I read said that the Haslams have consulted with the architecture group that built Minnesota Stadium. So I would think that is sort of at least that type of atmosphere you're expecting.
Yeah.
I'll give you one thing. I remember the stadium like volume rankings, and Minnesota was way up top as far as like the loudest home stadium in the NFL. And Cleveland fans are pretty nuts. I imagine you got a chance to be maybe the absolute loudest stadium in the country if you end up building a dome similar to what they built in Minnesota.
So I guess the Haslams actually spent a week out there talking to that designer.
Okay.
So that's huge in itself. That's huge news for us Cleveland fans. And that's a huge benefactor into thinking that we're going to get a dome.
It's going to be a beautiful building. It's going to be. I want you to imagine driving by the freeway and just seeing a beautiful dome that's going to be used whenever you could put bids in for events. That's amazing.
It's next to the airport, so anybody that comes to Cleveland is going to see it, and you're going to fly right over it.
Yep.
I actually drove past that land the other day. The rapid station is probably a quarter mile away. The airport's right across the street. What would be a street right across 237.
Yep.
And then you got ample parking for the airport already. That's already there if needed. And then you're going to have that. It's 173 acres of land.
Yep.
You build a stadium. You build a stadium like Denver because that is one of the loudest stadiums as well. But you build a dome on top of it, and that I think, because like Chad said, Cleveland Browns fans are. Wow. I've seen all these videos about, this fan base is the best. This fan base is the loudest. No, dude, you've never been to a Cleveland Browns game. So, quick story. When I went to the Baltimore Ravens game last year and we won, I was in there. We were winning. So I'm happy. I'm cussing. This lady in front of me is like, do you need to say that? I'm like, lady, I'm sorry, but you are at a Cleveland Browns game and we are winning. This is a rare occasion. Enjoy it. Bask in this presence of this huge win. We're beating a division rivalry. And then everybody else around us started cussing. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do by any means, but dude, we're beating Baltimore. Come on. Like, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah.
We're all drinking beers and having a blast. But can you imagine that in a dome?
Yeah. I mean, it's just louder. And not only, I know Cleveland Browns fans, like, I've been to games in Buffalo. Those fans are psychopaths. Like, they're the only people I've been around who I think, may have like an extra gear to fandom that just doesn't make sense. But, there's fans that, Philly fans are mean, but they're loud and they go at it. Browns fans are loud. There's just a handful of places where the fans kind of are just a notch above. And I don't think anybody who follows the NFL, doesn't realize that Browns fans are that group. I mean, my gosh, they were selling out games and showing up and screaming and tailgating for some of the worst teams in the history of history. I agree with you though, Angel, is that, both of you really, is that I think people may not know that this would be a great thing, but if this does end up happening, people are going to embrace it immediately when they feel that environment. I know we have the old schoolers who think football should be played in the snow, and I would love for that to really exist. But the reality is, these guys that play for the Browns, they didn't grow up in Cleveland. They didn't grow up in the snow. They didn't, they may practice here, but they're a lot of times practicing in indoor facilities. They're not geared for that. And the thought that it gives you a home field advantage, you lose it if that's the case. If everybody here that played for Cleveland grew up between Minnesota and Buffalo, we probably would have a home field advantage when somebody else comes up here, but that's not the case. We got guys that were drafted who grew up in LA, Miami, Texas, wherever. Like, there's nothing that Baker Mayfield did that is special in the snow. There's nothing that Deshaun Watson will do that helps us with the snow. It's just not really, it's not our advantage, because it's a Cleveland fan's advantage over maybe another fan, but not a player's advantage. And so the other thing is, besides it just being like a good environment for the players, fans are going to be able to get wild if they get into a stadium and they're not huddled up freezing in December. It's not every game. September, October, most of November, fans are fine. The players are probably fine. It's when you get in those games in late November, December, January, where if you have a good team, you don't want it snubbed by the fact that it's snowing and it's freezing and your own team can't operate in it. Yeah.
They can't even move.
Do you guys want to know what the quickest damn remedy to this whole situation is? If you want to play in the weather, build a retractable dome.
Yeah, I like the retractable.
If you guys want to, If you want to do that,
I
then
think
open
you
the
only
damn dome up
retract
and
it.
play it.
Yeah, but you only retract it when it's beautiful outside. Close it when it's snowing.
Yeah.
Right.
But I agree. I think the benefits of the dome go way beyond football. They go to the fans, they go to the players, they go to concerts and other events. And if somebody like Haslam is going to put in the investment to build it, that's what's going to happen because he's going to maximize. He's a businessman. He's going to maximize the most possible income out of it. And I think we already talked about it on one of the previous podcasts. People really, really want it downtown, and I have no problem with it being downtown. It's just different than the Cavs who play 40 times downtown and the Tribe that play 75 times downtown or whatever.
Right.
It's 8 times a year downtown, and to have that whole stadium taking up that whole space for those 8 games on a Sunday where people may not even be making a whole night of it. They may be going down there for the game in the morning, tailgating, going to the game, and by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, gone. So it just doesn't maximize the stadium or downtown. And I think people will be shocked at what this mayor, who's really driven to make a name for himself, might be committed to doing with that space downtown if he gets it back in 2000. I don't know, 27, 28?
28.
29. Yeah, 28.
28 is when the contract with Cleveland is up. Yeah.
And
the plans he'll be trying to put in place to like make himself like a legacy is something that people are going to want to see.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes the whole, like, fans, even the old heads, they still bring up the home field advantage. Like, we need the weather. It's like, since 99, you've done nothing but lose at home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're winning. You're not winning at home. You're winning. Lost record at home is still under 500. So what are you meaning by the fact that you need that weather to win? You lost when it was a snowstorm against New Orleans last year.
Not only
historically,
that,
you've got these cold weather stadiums in Detroit for a long time. You had them in Chicago for a long time. Buffalo's had them for a long time. There's been a lot of places that have had cold weather stadiums for decades. Those are not the teams that have been consistently just winning Super Bowls.
They're not.
And think about it.
And then, by the way, Kansas City this year had like 60 people go to the hospital after the game.
Yes, I read that. I was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
They had like just a pile of people in the hospital. That should never be the case where you get hospitalized for being a fan of football.
But not only that, listen, here's a good valid point. A lot of players are drafted from southern states where it's warmer. A lot of them. Texas is the biggest one of them all. Them guys aren't used to playing in this weather that we have in Cleveland. They're not. So I think it's crucial to have a dome stadium to bring in not only revenue, because like this year for the Cleveland Browns stadium that's existing now, we're probably going to have one country concert and we got the WrestleMania thing coming. That is it. What if it rains? I mean, it's in August, but what if it snows because it's Ohio? Who knows?
Yeah. Like, it could be a hurricane in August.
You never know. And you're going to host a WrestleMania outside.
And the thing is, like, this where the stadium is, like I said this before, like you park and you have to walk like years to get to the stadium.
So
and there's no easy way in, there's no easy way out. There's like everyone's funneling
That's what's
in.
crazy.
Yeah, everyone's funneling in through the same exit and entrance. It's insane how they built that.
And downtown is shut down. Like, you can talk about all you want, like, oh, on Sunday everybody goes downtown, but if you're not going to the game, you're not going anywhere near downtown. You're never going to get into downtown. They've got so many streets shut off.
I used to Uber, and Sundays were like but then my wife, I did it one time on a Sunday. I was like, never again. She's like, why? I was like, I can't pick nobody up.
Yeah.
Sure, like the surge fee is like $800, but they cancel because it's taking me an hour to get to them. It's insane that the whole traffic, and it doesn't make sense over there.
So when we went to
the
Ravens
plus side
game,
for us.
Go ahead, Chad.
I was going to say, on the plus side for us, I have a feeling, I know a lot of fans are all over the map on this. I have a feeling Jimmy Haslam, the mayor, and eventually city council will come around to the idea that this is probably the best option for both the team, the fans, and the city. to move the stadium and to have a dome on it. And I think the only way you're getting a dome is if you do move it. But I would have to hunch that the people making the decisions from stuff I've read are thinking a lot more along the lines of what we're talking about, and not so much along the lines of like football should be played outside or like teams should play downtown. So I still have it in my head that it seems like the most likely realistic option.
So, for example, last year when I went to that Ravens game, we were tailgating at East 13th and St. Clair. It took us an hour to walk to the stadium. 1 o'clock, or no, I'm sorry, that was a 4:15 game. So, or maybe 6:15. I can't remember. I was inebriated, clearly. But we tailgated from noon till whenever the game started, and it took us an hour to walk to the stadium.
Ugh.
That's miserable because then you
cold.
have to walk back. And it's cold down there. You're right by the lake. It's
but
freezing.
You're drinking a Fireball. Nobody knows how cold or hot it is.
your hands turning blue, but hey, it's fine.
We were playing cornhole. There was Crown Royal and Fireball. That's all we needed.
And as per typical, something about this topic like really grinds my gears, and it's that I keep seeing people posting all over the map on social media, Twitter, Instagram, wherever, about how we can't let the Browns leave Cleveland again. And I'm like, oh. And these are people from Cleveland, which really bothers me. And then there's people from like Florida, or I saw a post from a girl from San Francisco. She was like, oh my gosh, I understand you guys. Like, they just moved my 49ers out of San Francisco to San Jose. And I was like, San Jose is a different city. They moved your 49ers to a different city, not a suburb or not like another neighborhood. Like, that's an hour away. Like, that place has its own airport.
So
like they're moving there next to our airport. Like, it's not the same situation.
It's 15 minutes away from downtown.
Listen,
where
I hope everybody understands. Listen, Cleveland and Brook Park are connecting
15 minutes
cities
apart. Yeah,
they're the same thing.
1 mile. That land that they're talking about building on actually belonged to Cleveland at one point, but they gave it to Brook Park because they built a Cleveland Hopkins International Airport there. It is not hard. It's not rocket science, Cleveland.
Yeah.
It is.
If you look at the graphics that I posted, the stadium would literally be touching like two borders of Cleveland.
Yes.
Like, it would be touching the north and the west border of Cleveland.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right. Western.
Where Cleveland actually is, because Cleveland is just a weird shape. So there's even a chance that they'll re-annex that chunk of property back to the city of Cleveland in this land deal and say, now that it's been purchased, we're going to put it back into a zip code that is still Cleveland proper for the purpose of taxing and all that, because it was Cleveland, I guess, until like the 1980s or 90s.
Until they built the airport.
Where they gave it to Brook Park in some part of an airport expansion or something.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just kind of crazy because the airport, I think, is in city of Cleveland proper, even though it's sort of in Brook Park. It's just a peninsula into Brook Park. And I'm like, they could do the same thing. If nothing else, it's literally going to be like on the border of Cleveland.
It's literally just, you can throw a stone in.
The craziness is nuts. Like, I grew up in West Park around 150th, and that's not that far from downtown, but it's probably 10 minutes to downtown, 8 minutes to the airport or something.
Yeah, literally. It's like you're right in the middle between downtown and where the stadium would be if you're in West Park.
Cleveland is a weird spread out east to west city because of the lake. It's an odd shape, and it just spans like a lot of geography. And then I don't know, I guess I'm just one of those people that, I went to Ohio University, and when you ask somebody where they're from, they say I'm from Cleveland. They don't say like I'm from Avon Lake.
Yeah.
They say I'm from Cleveland, dude. Or they don't say like I'm from Parma. If you're from Cleveland also, maybe you get specific, but like it's all Cleveland. Like it's all part of the Cleveland metropolitan area.
Yeah, that's the main
word.
Whether
or not it's
suburb.
Cleveland proper. Yeah. Like it's not even a distant suburb. It's just Cleveland. Like, it's as close to Cleveland as any suburb could be. So
Like seriously, Brook Park Road disconnects Cleveland and Brook Park, and it's really not even that. You got mostly Cleveland is Brook Park Road until you turn left on any one of those roads, then you're in Brook Park. It is not that big of a deal, folks. Just let it go. Just like the Deshaun Watson crap, let it go. He's your quarterback. It's going to happen.
It's time to stop being so dramatic. I feel like we're just trained to be dramatic about everything. It's so tough.
I'm going to be dramatic about it right now because it is starting to irritate me a little bit.
Yeah. It's just so. Anyways, that's the part of it that just has been driving me absolutely bonkers. Like there's like just certain things where it's like I don't mind like a debate or that you feel differently. But when it comes into these weird narratives that make something seem like it's not, like the amount of people that posted like they're trying to take the Browns from Cleveland. I'm like, no, they're not. Don't tell people that, because people where I'm at in San Diego asked me like, I heard the Browns are leaving Cleveland again. And I'm like, no, that's not what's happening.
15 minutes up the road. It's going to be 15 minutes up the freeway.
The stadium to another part of Cleveland. But like they don't know. If people see a headline that says like Haslam's trying to take the Browns out of Cleveland, like they kind of people freak out for Cleveland. Like, no, not again. So
poor old Cleveland.
Yeah, listen, everybody. Chad is probably one of the only Californians I would tell you to listen to, and that's.
I'm one of the only Californians I would tell you to listen to also.
Oh man. But yeah, whether or not we go to Brook
surprised
Park,
we're all on the same page on this, because I really have seen downtown because it should be downtown. I've seen downtown because there's more space. Downtown because football needs to be outside. The new place because football needs to be inside. Like I've just seen, and it's like I said, it's a fair argument as long as you're making it for the right reasons. But I think people will be shocked at how good this will be for everybody and the city if they do clear that land and put anything useful there, and then have a stadium that you can really kind of rock out in.
Here's what I think it is. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angel.
No, I was just going to be selfish. Again, it'll be good for my property taxes too in my house. So, I mean, it'll jack up my value for my home, and I could Airbnb it during events. I can make money. So that's part of my reason why. It's selfish, sure. But come on, let me live 10 minutes from a stadium and watch me Airbnb this house every Taylor Swift event.
I mean, bummer for the East Side, bummer for Beechwood or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of Cleveland lives outside of downtown anyway. So just as many people who may have to drive a little farther to the stadium, there's going to be thousands and thousands of people who are like, oh my gosh, it's so close now. So easy to get to. So,
and you're, and when they drive into the new stadium, they're pay like $20 as opposed to paying $90 or $100 for parking.
Well, again, that's what I think it is. Solid. I think it's the battle of the East and West, because right now it's in the middle. That's what people want, something in the middle. And you know how it is in Cleveland, because Cleveland is spread east to west. You got your east side of Cleveland, you got your west side of Cleveland. Yeah, you got your eastern suburbs and your western suburbs. That is a huge factor in all of this, because people are like, oh man, Brook Park, all the west siders are like, hell yeah, let's send that.
Let's do it.
And then the east siders like, no.
That's an hour
cut
drive.
that out, dude. Yeah. We got to drive 20 more minutes.
And that is a bummer. But the good news is, if they're going to put it by the airport, they're going to make sure there are a lot of ways to get there. And it's going to be easy to get to. I'm sure they'll start talking about how do we revamp the trains that go from downtown to the stadium now or the airport. And it gives you a chance to kind of revitalize a lot of different things. You have now an excuse to like, oh, we need the trains for all these trips to the airport and to the stadium. So
concerts,
better make sure those are running well.
Shout out to the RTA. They'll be making money too.
Yeah, the Rita.
The Rita.
We still call it that too.
Hop on the Rita.
Oh man. Well, now that we got stadium talk out of the way, we'll take a quick break, and then I want to come back and talk about coaches. That is going to be a huge difference in this entire year coming up. We lost some people, we gained some people, we adjusted positions, I guess, if you will, for coaches as well. And there's one big person that I really, really want to touch base on.
Literally.
Yeah.
He's big.
He is a big person.
Yes.
No, he's not. Mike. Oh, I can't spoil it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Everybody has.
I'm talking about
You're
me.
paying attention.
Mike.
You know,
See, look, it says Mike right. Oh, why is this not working? It says Mike right there. I was talking about myself.
Yes. And you're like 6'5", so I mean, you're pretty big.
Yeah, I'm 6'5" now, 305 pounds. I should be the outside tackle. That's what I should do. Try out for the
Yes.
Browns. Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us, all 0 viewers, because we didn't go live for some reason today. But yeah, this will all be posted for everybody's viewing and listening pleasure. But yeah, thank you again, Angel and Chad, for joining us, and we'll be right back. What is up, everybody? Mike Wilkes here from the Bearded Browns podcast, letting you know that we're going to be working with Mistakes on a Lake Clothing. They have everything you need. Why not check them out? If you want to go to their store, it's 4542 Liberty Avenue in beautiful Vermilion, Ohio. If you want to contact them, their phone number is 440-670-3145. They have everything from Cleveland to Columbus gear. They have Lake Erie gear. Why not check it out? It's all great stuff you can get for your wife, your kids, your newborn. They even have onesies, shirts that say good moms and dads don't raise Michigan fans, just Ohio stuff, and it's awesome. So be sure to check them out. They have everything you need. Even the candles, custom coasters, can koozies, wine tumblers, phone grips, everything, stickers. It is awesome. Check them out. Do not be the mistake on a lake and regret this decision. Go and check them out. Hey everybody, this is Mike from Mistakes on the Lake. And we're back with Chad. No Angel.
Was there someone else here earlier?
There was, but he's past tense. He is gone.
He'll be back. He'll be back. They all come back.
Dude, you know what's great is this thing has made 0 errors tonight. I cannot believe how easy everything has gone so far.
I was going to say, and it's your first run, so this is when it was going to happen.
Hopefully it's recording everything and we will be great. So while Angel's gone, what is your biggest input on the Mike Vrabel hire? Oh, hi, Angel. Welcome back.
Am I late?
You didn't miss much. As far as if I had to give one take for the Mike Vrabel hire in general, I think the one take is that it's more organizational than anything. And it's that this organization is absolutely, selflessly like hell bent on finding a way to win. And they're not going to leave a stone unturned. They're not going to be worried about I've seen all sorts of stories about, Well, now they've set themselves up where if something goes wrong with Stefanski, like they've got another head coach, ready in place. I don't think that's the case. I would be shocked if we don't hear about a Stefanski extension sooner than later.
Yep.
I think this is more of this guy's on the market right now because of the time he got fired. He didn't catch on somewhere else. I think everybody's expecting him to catch on somewhere next year when the next round comes. I think this guy is usually not available. We have a lot of respect for what he can bring to an organization. Let's get 1 year out of him and see if he can help us advance as a coaching staff. And I think that doesn't just say a lot about, our coach's willingness to kind of work together, but it says a lot about our leadership's, drive to be creative and find ways to out scheme, outthink, and outmaneuver other teams.
I agree. I think with him and Dorsey coming in is going to be a whole new scheme of things to happen. I know he's not going to have a big coaching, like he doesn't have a head coaching job, obviously. It says that his responsibilities include providing insights and guidance to the coaching staff and the front office. The guy's smart. We watched him in Tennessee for years. I don't think he's the reason Tennessee doesn't have a good head coach, because I think Tennessee is going to be in a gutter for at least 3 years after this. There's no reason they should have let him go. Tennessee.
Well, to anybody that doesn't know this, by the way, he was absolutely not let go from Tennessee because he didn't do a good enough job. He did, I think, most analysts, most football heads, most NFL voices think he did a pretty great job with the group that he had. He was let go because it basically came down to a feud between him and a GM, and the organization had to decide what direction are we going with? Are we going with the Vrabel group, or are we going with our management group and holding steady there? And
we've seen that happen in Cleveland.
What it came down to. Yeah, it's happened to a lot of places where good head coaches or even good GMs are basically let go because the coach and the GM just don't see eye to eye. They can't really work together. And at a certain point, one guy has to move on. And in this case, it was Vrabel. I think they're looking to rebuild and retool that whole team. And they thought, we need this leadership in personnel in place to do that. And we'll figure out coach later. Who knows if they made the right choice? They may come back to regret that. I think he's a pretty darn good coach, but just for anybody who is thinking like, well, he got fired, doesn't always mean he's not good enough to be the head coach. It just means his boss chose to go another direction.
Yeah.
We've all had bosses where we're like, yeah, you aren't making always the best decisions.
And for everybody that does not know, Tennessee, when we lost to Cleveland Browns, Tennessee Titans became my second favorite team. So I always follow them as well. I think Vrabel was a very good coach, smart. I don't want to say Tomlin-esque, but some points of him were just where he had the right mindset to win games still and get his team to where they needed to be. That's my outlook on him. I love the hire. I think it's going to be great. I think there's going to be a whole new offensive scheme coming in between our offensive coordinator and Vrabel and Stefanski. It's going to be different. We're not going to see the same, because we could all agree when Kevin Stefanski is making the play calls, it's not always the right thing. Like as Browns fans sit there and think about, we're like, no, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you do that? Like on 3rd and 2, you got Kareem Hunt that could get you those 2 yards.
A double reverse.
Yeah.
2 yards.
Don't do those anymore, please, dude.
Dude, you need 2 yards. Why are you doing a double reverse?
Yeah. It's just stupid stuff like that. And I think Mike Vrabel is smart enough to be like, hey, Stefanski, don't do that. I don't know if he's going to be up in a tower or down on the field either. They're limiting us on information about the Vrabel thing right now. That I do and I don't like, because that's going to leave other teams guessing like, man, Vrabel is a smart guy. We all know that. What is this guy capable of doing to us? Is he going to be like a a behind the scenes head coach. What is he really going to do? You can call him a coaching and personnel consultant, but the guy's a genius, I think. Not because he's was the coach of my second favorite team, but the guy is smart. And I
mean, he moved up the ladder quick. He clearly is pretty well thought of by NFL circles. And I have my hunches. What do you think, Angel? Do you have thoughts on what you think he'll be doing?
I like the idea that they're secretive. The reason why I like the idea that that's secretive is because there's no one wanting glory for it. And that's a good sign of an organization that is running well. Okay. So a lot of fans are like, or I shouldn't say fans, local sports, what do we call them?
Advocates.
Advocates are like, we need to know. It's like, we don't need to know what he's going to do. And that's the beauty of it. He may be talking with the defense. He may be talking with the offense. He may just be saying, hey, you guys need to revamp whatever. Either way, having him in the circle of leadership is going to be vital for the growth, even if it's for a year, of the coach that you're going to sign an extension for. He's going to sign an extension. A lot of people are going to have mixed emotions about it. He's a 2-time coach of the year. He's gotten you to the playoffs 2 years out of 4. He's a good coach. He has an opportunity to be a great coach if he gets his quarterbacks to stay healthy, stay in the pocket, and stop running so much. And I think that's why they've been having these meetings. Maybe they're trying to convince Watson, listen, do this instead of this, because your health, you're getting older, your body's going to break down quicker. So having Vrabel in there, when I saw that, I thought the typical fan was like, the fandom side of me was like, okay, Kevin messes up, we got Vrabel, but then I slapped myself. It was like, no, Kevin's not going to mess up. This is a good thing. For some reason, he didn't get roped into another team, and because of that, he fell to us, and it was a huge blessing for this team.
On that note, like a couple things actually. First, yeah, I'm with you. The reason I don't think he's a replacement for Stefanski is because I don't think Stefanski is going to fail. But if by some chance the world goes upside down and it's a total dumpster fire, yeah, I guess that's a pretty good person to already have in the building, knowing your personnel. But I just think that a move like that would take this team totally failing. And I have nothing that I've seen from Stefanski or now Schwartz at this point to think that they're going to fail to the point where they think this needs rebuilt. Like after what they've been able to do the last couple of years, I know everybody's not happy with it all the time, but I would be blown away to see a dumpster fire to the point where you needed to fire your head coach. I just think it's much more likely we're going to see an extension. But you also mentioned how secretive they are. Yeah, definitely they're secretive because nobody even knew this move was coming. I got a notification. The Browns have hired Mike Vrabel.
I did too.
The Browns are talking to Mike Vrabel. The Browns are interested in Mike Vrabel. No Mary Kay Cabot, like word on the streets is
right.
They
Nothing.
Look into Mike. It's just Mike Vrabel is now consulting with the Browns. It's like, holy cow. And then Kevin Stefanski comes out with like, oh yeah, we talk all the time. We've had a really long running relationship. Vrabes has been here. Vrabes has been, spitting things back and forth with me. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know the two guys like knew each other other than in the fact that they were both head coaches. The Browns do an incredible job of just not letting you know where they're steering at all. And I guess I've heard rumors that some of the coaches who have been let go, part of what the leadership had a problem with was that they didn't keep their mouth shut in some topics, and they were talking to reporters and saying things they shouldn't have. And I don't know if you guys have heard the same, but it is kind of funny that you mentioned how secretive they are about his role, because they were awfully secretive about the fact that they were even considering bringing someone else in. And then you had mentioned Stefanski being 2 times coach of the year. Vrabel was also coach of the year 1 time. So now we have 3 years worth of coach of the year on staff. And then we have an incredible defensive coordinator who can also benefit from Vrabel. I think my opinion is Vrabel is here for Schwartz to say, man, we got smoked in Texas last year. You want to watch the film with me and figure out what we could have done a little differently with this personnel? And on the offensive side, we just brought in a new offensive coordinator to help very clearly to help rearrange the offense because we had an offense built that worked better for a 40-year-old semi-retired quarterback than it did for the quarterback you invested 3 first-round picks in. And I think they might not have even like realized how off that offense was. And Watson did fine in it in the couple of games he played. I shared a graphic with you guys that in the 3 games he actually played before getting hurt, he looked great in a lot of ways. But I think this is like, okay, we brought in an offensive coordinator that's worked with Josh Allen, a much more Deshaun Watson-esque style of ability. And now the next thing we have to look at is, Mike, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers, all very well.
The toughest division in the league.
Yeah, he's watched tape on those. It's like, here's where we've struggled with those guys. You played the Texans plenty of times. Like, here's where we struggled this game. Tell me what you would do to stop the personnel that we have, because we're going to try to create this offense. And when we start running things by you, I want you to tell me with those teams' defenses what you would do to stop it, so we know whether it's going to work or not, or whether we need to take this down another route. So I think globally for offense, defense, leadership, and then for like younger head coaches too coming in, I think this is just going to be an overall give us as perspective outside of what we've all been meshing with for the last few years on what we can do different offensively and defensively with the pieces we have.
That's also, a great output.
Yeah, if I can add one more thing, it also speaks, and again, I like pointing to the organization as a whole, that a coach like Vrabel will come to our organization. I'm sure he had all their opportunities, and I'm sure Schwartz being in here probably had something to do with it. But if he did not like the way the organization was heading, do you think he would be here? No. So that should encourage the fans. Even right now, they're probably chattering about, why didn't we sign Flacco? They're too busy with Flacco. They're not seeing these little side moves or chess moves is what I call them, because people are worried about playing checkers when the organization is playing chess.
I like that.
So that's why when they and I was kind of just like Chad, I was like, wow, and I'm like, this is a great move for the organization, because even if it's for a year, he's just going to pour out tons of information. And this is from somebody who looks at leadership in general as if a leader admits that they have flaws and they get somebody who's better at them in their weaknesses, that speaks good about your leader, because he's admitting, hey, I have a weakness. He's not being a tyrant, somebody that's saying, oh, it's my way or the highway. Kevin was like, listen, I have a weakness in this area. Let's get somebody who probably can help me. That speaks good for your organization. They're correcting errors that they've made even in the past years. Right? You know what? Maybe I need to switch up play calling. Maybe he's going to give it up. Who knows? But either way, it's a great move in that aspect.
And he has huge, huge Ohio ties. Obviously playing for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Then being drafted by that other team. Yeah. I'm not even going to say that on here. Just, that black and yellow team.
Yeah. Boom.
Grew up in Akron. The guy knows Northeast offense and defense. I think he's going to have a giant input, bigger than most of us actually think. I think his input is going to be bigger than all of these Cleveland Browns fans actually think it's going to be. And that is something
I think
that
it's
needs
under
to be
the
done.
radar. Like, no fans are really they're discussing it's under the radar. That's why I mean they're so focused on the quarterback situation that you've made a huge move here, and we're just
it came and went.
Fan. Yeah,
it came and went.
Vrabel, okay.
I'm with both. I think it's huge. I think he helps everybody. I think he probably won't have much say in personnel, but I think he helps Stefanski. I think he helps Dorsey. I think he helps Schwartz. I think it sounds like he already has a good relationship with Stefanski, and I think everybody kind of the one thing that was already publicized was that he has a really great relationship with Schwartz.
Yep.
And I think when you bring somebody that smart in with no set task, with no set responsibility, where it's not like, okay, you're in charge of special team, you're in charge, and it's just, you're not in charge of anything. You're just a sounding board for all of these ideas that these other coaches have going forward. That really makes him flexible and able to contribute just to the entire makeup of our coaching staff. And I think, 1 year of that minimum is huge, because it allows a head coach who's even younger than him to continue to develop. He's got one thing, Stefanski has done a great job. Vrabel has done a great job. They both have their question marks, just like literally Bill Belichick at this point has question marks. Like, there is no getting away from question marks.
Where's Bill
Andy Reid,
Belichick
for
now?
goodness sakes, was fired at one point. Somebody fired Andy Reid. Like, what?
Yeah.
there is no like infallible coach. It's, I think one of the smartest coaches in the entire league coaches the 49ers. And if you don't have questions about his ability to close with the talent he has, you haven't been watching. Like, there's always going to be questions. But you look at somebody like Stefanski and you put him with somebody like Vrabel, and all of a sudden you have a head coach that's so young with an ability to kind of piece together with somebody else on his same intellectual status level all of these little nuances. And the one thing that Vrabel has definitely done is he has won playoff games. He's taken a team without a quarterback who's lighting it up in
AFC championships,
Tannehill, and he has gotten them through several playoff games. And I think for anybody who's like, Kevin, run the dang ball, or Kevin, like, pick the easy play on 4th and 1, like it, I think that's something that Vrabel's always done well. And, how do we, they're nowhere near the same level, but Tannehill's a quarterback who can control the game and also has to move a little bit. You have to pick an offense that maximizes him. So, at all these things that Vrabel has done are all things that are going to be very useful to this Cleveland Browns organization. And again, his familiarity with the AFC and especially the AFC North and some of the best teams in the AFC, including Jacksonville, who will probably be right back to it when they're healthy, the Texans, who are going to be right back to it. These other teams that we need to beat to get to the next level are teams that he knows pretty well.
Facts. Great move. Shows the organization's brilliant. No one's trying to grasp for credit. If they do try to grasp for credit, they're out. It's move in silence organization. I love it.
I agree. I think it's going to be great to have this guy's mindset on the sideline. I hope I see him on the sidelines as well with the entire team, because that's going to scare everybody to see Kevin Stefanski, Deuce Staley, all them guys on the sidelines, dude. Just it's
Deuce Staley's another underrated one. I think people have been more caught up in some of the coaches that left, and I mean, we lost the best offensive line coach in the league. I think that's a pretty general consensus. But I understand that is like that's like LA losing LeBron because he's going to try to go play with his son. That's like this is kind of a once in a lifetimer. I'm taking this opportunity type of a situation. So I'm not going to harp on him or anything for that. But we did a heck of a job replacing that guy. We brought in a running back coach that I think I have no worries about at all. I had some questions on our running back situation last year because it looked like without Chubb, we had no backup plan, and we definitely had backup talent. And so, I'm excited to see what they can do with a fresh face in there. And, the other defensive coordinator and special teams coach were switches they made the year before, and that made a hell of a difference.
Huge.
And I think it's kind of underrated, the type of talent they brought in at offensive coordinator. offensive line is hard to replace, but they at least brought in somebody that's going to be able to, have some oomph in the room. And I think it's probably been under touted how good of a job the organization did of refueling and bringing in fresh faces where they need them and holding on to the coaches and players that really have done a great job here.
I agree, and that's why I want to bring up Deontay Foreman. That's, I think, going to be crucial to this offense this year while Nick Chubb's out, because I don't think he's going to be back week 1. I really do not.
I would be blown away.
Yes, and Chad, you are the guy that has all the news and info on that, and you are the mind that knows what that type of injury has to deal with.
Honestly, I'm not sure I would want him back week 1, even if he thought he could go. I mean, I think forget trying to put miles on your tire this year, man. Like, take it easy, ease in, be there down the stretch when it's running time. And he's just not going to have the oomph that he's had in the past coming right off that injury. Like, there is no way I want to try to get him in there any sooner than he needs to be.
No, but I do like the Deontay Foreman move. I think that's going to be, he's replacing Jesus. He's not replacing Jesus.
No, no.
I was like, wow. I'm thinking very highly of Deontay Foreman.
He'll be coming in.
He's Kareem kind of replacing Kareem Hunt, but
yes.
he's replacing Nick Chubb in terms of he's replacing like the grind runs for this offense. I think if you watched Jerome Ford last year, he didn't have a terrible year. He didn't excite me in any way.
In the red zone, he sucked. I didn't like him in the red zone.
He's just not a bomber. And Deontay Foreman, I think, is a guy who can get you some difficult yards, among other things. But that's one thing that I'm thinking that he's got to have been brought in for, is to get you the hard yards while Chubb is out, and to get you a little bit more of a slow build in carries for Chubb once he's back. Like, he's the type of back that I would say Ford has a lot of development to do. He's got some work to do, which is not what you want from a young running back. You want him to just be ready to go. But I think Foreman doesn't have too many miles on the tires, and the things he does are the things that we just didn't have last year, even out of Kareem Hunt.
Right.
And granted, he was put in a tough situation because he came off the street to play, not off of a long training camp and like being in football shape. But even when he got himself going, he just did not have the burst to get the hard yards at the end of the year. And I think that's the reason that we have a guy like Deontay Foreman on this team.
So Deontay Foreman's averaging 3.2 yards. And I think that having that guy in the red zone, which we usually used Kareem Hunt for, Kareem Hunt was always that red zone guy. That's why I thoroughly enjoyed having Kareem Hunt out there. He'd always get you those yards that you needed. He could never bust off a big run the last, I want to say 2 years at least. He fell off. I think Deontay Foreman is going to be that guy that's going to pull off that, you need 2 or 3 yards in a red zone, and then we're going to not bomb it, but we're in a red zone, obviously. You're going to throw the ball. It's just the inevitable. I'm not going to say it's predictable, because we don't know what's going to happen with the new offensive coordinators and everything. But I do like the move. Deontay Foreman can get some yardage, only averaging 3.2 yards per carry. That's an average. But who knows what he could do with this offensive line if we are healthy. Does that make sense?
Yes. Health is a big issue for sure.
Yeah, that's not a great yard per carry, but I don't know. He doesn't break a lot of runs, so that is kind of something that I think yards per carry is important. But I think that if you're a guy who just can pound the ball, you may not be a guy like Chubb who occasionally every quarter breaks one giant one, and that really helps your yards per carry. Maybe you're getting 2 to 4 yards a carry, and then you bust in 28 yarder, and now all of a sudden your yards per carry looks incredible. I don't think Deontay Foreman's that guy. but I do think he's a guy that you can trust to carry the ball on a pretty steady basis.
What are your thoughts on that, Angel?
Yep, he's a good guy, good back. He's a good 2, possibly 1B. I agree. I don't think Chubb's going to be ready for week 1, and I agree. Chad is correct. I hope even if he is, they're like, all right, pump the brakes. Let's let's give you a couple more weeks before we turn the keys on you. But yeah, I think the 3 yards per carry will be a little more on this offensive line. I hope, my hope is that I hope Ford grows this offseason to where he can see the whole, his vision improves to where he can break off more runs, longer runs like Chubb did. Not like Chubb did, but close to it at least, because Chubb is unique. But at least they went after their weakness and they got it. And I'm glad fans are still crying for Kareem Hunt, and I'm thinking like, did you guys watch the games?
Yeah.
He was just a goal line guy. Like, you need somebody to break out more than 1 or 2 yards.
I really wasn't pissed off at Jerome Ford, because you bring this guy in on a whim. Boom, you're out there, dude. This is your time to shine.
Yep.
And he had 864 rushing yards this year.
It was close to 1,000.
That's not entirely bad. But us Cleveland fans are so focused on the running game because, in the beginning of the year, Stefanski, why didn't you run the ball? Why didn't you run the ball? That's always what it is.
It's honestly, it's not that different from looking at Jedrick Wills and being like, he sucks. And it's like, well, he doesn't really suck. We just watched Joe Thomas for 14 years.
But
he's not great. And compared to Mike's that, you're like, my expectation is.
Since you brought up Jed Wills, dude.
Mike's like, he still sucks.
Chad, I hate Jed Wills. I cannot wait till that guy is gone.
A lot of people do, but I just think it's very much like in the zone of like, we just watched the best of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb for like several years. And then you get Jerome Ford and you look at the number and his yards per carry are okay. And his total yards for the amount of carries he had for the season, pretty good. But like, it looked like just a shell of the running game that we got used to the last couple of years with Chubb and Hunt. It just wasn't there. And Hunt didn't do us any favors either. He just didn't look like the him in Kansas City or the him in Cleveland prior to him being let go. And so I don't want to be that hard on Ford, but it's definitely, he's missing an element to the game that we need. And I think Foreman covers some of that. So,
and I'm hoping Foreman coming in will be able to, well, obviously we're not going to see Kareem Hunt this year because he's a free agent still, but if by some off chance we do sign him, I know Kareem Hunt's older, I believe, than Deontay Foreman as well. It's just, our Cleveland thing is to keep players from Cleveland in Cleveland. We just signed, what's his name? That we brought him home from the Jets. What's that guy's name?
Oh shoot! I just had his
brain. I have it written down, but it's in my truck, so that doesn't help me anywhere. But we're bringing guys home, and it's not because of that. I almost want to say that these guys that come to Cleveland from their hometown play harder, as hard as they possibly can. Does that make any sense? You're in your hometown. You want to stay home. That's your ideal situation at the end of the day.
Justin Hardy.
Yes. That is going to be a special teams beast. Thank you, Angel. That guy, I watched his highlights, and that dude gets so many special teams tackles. Half the Jets' special team tackles were by him, and that guy hits hard, so hopefully there's some fumbles.
Yeah, hopefully teams adjusted a new rule, but
it's a different game now. We'll see.
Damn it.
You see how they...
So let's talk about the kickoff. Let's do that.
The hits aren't going to be as hard, but it is the new rule makes it where there is no room for error on your special teams. With how congested it is there, if you've got a good returner, all of a sudden he's definitely going to try to field the ball, and there is no more room for a missed tackle on special teams. You better make contact and you better bring a guy down, because once he's past that first line,
you're done.
He's gone.
And they're saying that they're going to do that to increase the scores in the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, because
I think
everybody
that,
likes.
I think they wanted to do it to bring kick. I mean, what did they say last year? 22% of kicks were returned. It's like that's not okay. If you're either
No.
get rid of the kickoff or you find a way to make it,
Entertaining.
entertaining again. And I think they thought this is a lock way to make guys return kicks. And we just want them returned. We just don't want them to get knocked out every time they get tackled. And I don't know. We'll see how it works out. But I think I think they may have come up with the way that it's going to stay. But it is
Angel.
It is now you
breathing.
cannot make a mistake if you're the kicking team, or you're just going to be watching this guy run down the field.
Angel just got back from Kalahari and he thinks he's got COVID, and he is breathing hard.
I got some.
Before we moved on to Dante Furman, I wanted to just bring out these numbers because I think we had texted about them a little bit, but I don't know that I've ever shared them. I was on PFF and I was trying to kind of figure out like what was the history of this guy, and so I guess he was drafted in 2017. He was a 3rd round selection. He had a mediocre to not that great rookie year. I think his PFF score was about 50 or 60. I'm sorry, which is like you could maybe be a backup. You don't need to be on the field, which for a freshman's not or a rookie's not the worst thing in the world. Then in 2018, he just got shattered, missed most of the season, came back in 2019 or tried to come back in 2019, didn't end up playing at all. And then in recovery, I'm trying to remember what that injury was. Was it a torn Achilles?
I think so. And didn't he just come off an injury this year as well?
Yeah, but I don't think anything serious.
It wasn't serious, but it just
that injury
another
was
injury.
like your career might be over injury. And to see him come back in 2020 and look at his PFF scores at 66.6, 2021, 72.1, 2022, 73.1, 2023, 74. Watching a guy grind back from an injury that could pretty much end your career if you're not just ready to give it all you got with your rehab and your recovery, and to have him out for 2018 and then not playing in the 2019 season and not give up and just like grind his way back and then each year get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better kind of speaks volumes to me about the character of the guy that's coming in, and the fact that as he's like 27 right now, where he should be kind of coming towards like where he's already on his downhill as a running back. It kind of makes you think a lot like somebody like Grant Delpit. Like, had he not had that injury, would this guy have been like someone pretty incredible? Because it's taken him years and years of actually coming back from that injury.
And that's crazy because the average lifespan of a running back is what, about 6 to 8 years, I want to say, possibly. I mean, a
good one.
Yeah,
even a pretty good one.
Right. And that's the average life expectancy of a good running back. And they're getting paid less and less, where the quarterbacks are getting paid more and more.
Yeah, just watching him get better versus worse. And by the way, that is much better than the scores that we got from our own running backs last year. He finished levels ahead of Ford and way ahead of Kareem Hunt last year in terms of just performance. So
do you think Andrew Berry really relies on those PFF scores? Is that like
no?
Not at all.
I doubt he even looks at him. I just look at him because like I didn't watch Deontay Foreman play other than like a game or two here and there. The reason I like him is because I think when I look at players that I do know, I think they kind of match up pretty well. There's not very many curveballs, but I just think as far as like looking at a player you don't know very well and getting a picture, like it's not much different than you can look at like yards per carry. You can look at, runs over 10 yards. You can look at, these different statistics like yards after contact. For me, yards after contact is a huge.
Those yak yards are a big
for
big
a running
thing.
back. It's how good are you? Because your offensive line might stink, so yards per carry may be kind of a wash. But if your yards per contact or yards after contact are 6 or 3, and another guy has more yards per carry than you, but his yards after contact are 1, it means put you behind a better offensive line, and you're probably going to be able to show something. But for me, for PFF, I just like these kind of things that might tell a little bit of a story. Like obviously his score after an injury that devastating as an Achilles tear, I wouldn't have been shocked if he came back and he was worse than his rookie year, and then maybe got a little bit better, but never quite got going again. But he just
climbed.
It's better and better and better, and at an odd age because he basically had 2 years off. So it's a little different story. I'm hoping something like that could happen with Deshaun, where it's like he was great and then he had some time off and then not so hot, but with the ability to get better and better and better again when he gets back into playing consistently.
We as Cleveland fans hope that happens. I mean, there's no
doubt.
And Angel made actually a really good reel this week where he was stating, if you're a Browns fan, listen, people, you have to deal with what is in front of us. This is our quarterback. There's no coming back from that. Not only because of the money. The money has nothing to do with it. I am well over that. But damn it, this is the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. We got 17 backups. We're good.
17. And
we have the deepest quarterback room in all the NFL.
There's no way in hell we're going to lose this year.
And they're going to be drafting another one here too.
Yes.
And it helps a lot that the fact that I'm not the one paying him, so who cares, right? I'm not the one.
Not to mention, he's no longer, like at the time they signed him, I get it. People were infuriated that you would sign a guy with that much baggage for that much money. If he didn't have the baggage, I think people just would have said, worth it. He's worth it. But he had all that baggage. People were upset. People will remain upset. And especially people that either don't like him or don't care for Cleveland. I mean, we all know that Cleveland can be like the butt of jokes time after time. Like people love digging at Cleveland. So the fact that there's this Deshaun Watson thing, just give people easy ammo if you're not really paying attention to the details. But
it's the same
realistically
as
now, he's not paid like he was paid when we signed him. Now there's a dozen quarterbacks that either are going to get paid what he's getting paid or more, or are about to when they get re-signed. Like it's just, he's 2 years into his deal and all of a sudden, he's getting paid like eighth or something. And it's just, you're looking at guys that are about to sign huge deals going forward. And it was overblown to the fact that just like the Jerry Jeudy talk we had about like how much he's getting paid, like, I don't know, it could be 13 and a half. It could be up to 18 if he's great, whatever the numbers were. It's like in 2 years, when that deal is sort of like kicked in and in stride, guys are going to be signing for $25 million a year. And they're going to be like, oh, this doesn't seem like very much. Like when you sign guys early, you pay them a little bit more now so that in 2 years, you're under the market and you have some salary cap room. And it's like talking about guys' contracts more than like the first year you sign them, or if they're just an absolute total bust, it's just not worth dwelling on because it's their money and it'll be gone eventually.
Yeah, that's my take. Like people, they always bring up like, yeah, but they use the words "we're paying him" too. I'm like, we. I'm not paying him.
My bank
account
says
have to pay your team
$0.
a certain amount, right? It's
Yeah,
not like they strap themselves where they can't get free agents or they can't sign. Like they paid him, and then they're like, who'd be good? $25 million a year, Amari Cooper, or now 15-ish $1 million a year, Jeudy, and let's re-sign Chubb and let's give another contract to Njoku. They didn't put themselves in a position where they signed him for so much they can't sign anybody else. And that's why I'm like, well, then I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what really pisses me off, though, is the same exact thing happened with Kareem Hunt. The dude booted a girl in a hotel in Cleveland while he was playing with the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy comes here and does good. Everybody praises him. You do bad, you're going to get crapped on.
He's a Cleveland kid. He's got an immediate advantage.
Right. I get that to an extent. But at the same time, if he would have came here and did bad, nobody would have liked it.
Like I said, the Deshaun Watson went on a lot of levels. There's 5 other teams that were trying to pay him. People were super salty that the Browns were like, we'll just guarantee the money. And everybody else was like,
You didn't go to Atlanta. You didn't go to a better
he didn't
market.
go to Carolina.
Well, do you
he
guys
didn't
remember?
go to the Saints.
In the beginning,
I'm
he
offended.
said, "I'm not going to Cleveland," and that was
No
for like
thanks.
an hour. He's like, "I'm not going to Cleveland." And everybody's like, "Oh, all right, cool, whatever, dude."
And
then
then Jimmy was
bam.
like, "Really?"
Yeah.
I mean, we know what happened. Yeah, Jimmy was like, "Well, what if we guarantee your deal?" And he's like, "I'm listening.
Cha-ching.
Okay, no,
I'm in
yeah,
a lot
well,
of trouble right now. I can
yeah,
stand
I
to get that
can-
money guaranteed."
Give me the money.
Right.
Also, another topic that a lot of people bring up, and they do this because they just don't like him, and just say it. It's fine if you don't like him.
Yeah.
They bring up he has an injury. He's injury prone, and I say, well, outside of this year, when was he injured? You know what I hear? Crickets. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't injured until this year. Now he had a back strain in 2019, but he played through it.
I think he tore his ACL really early on, didn't he?
Yep. He had a hand injury, played through it, and then he hurt his shoulder this year.
Yeah.
He tried to
When it
play
comes
through
to
it.
injury
but he
prone
couldn't.
from like a medical perspective, injury prone is very unlikely unless you're just old and your injuries are mounting up, or whether you keep re-injuring that. If you tear your hamstring in 2020 and then early in 2021, and then it's bothering you in the playoffs in 2021, I would call that injury prone because you're sort of at risk to keep re-injuring that.
Yep.
If you are hurting different things.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt everybody. I'm sorry to interrupt. We have breaking news. Hey, Cleveland. Deshaun Watson is your quarterback.
Oh, God. I quit. He's not my quarterback. I'm never buying season tickets again.
Sorry, I had to do that. I had to.
I'm never buying season tickets again, and those same fans have been going for like 80 years. I mean, come on. Yeah, no, that's my, like, whenever I need engagements on Facebook, I always post a picture of Deshaun Watson just because I need it. And because I guarantee you, my reach will go from like under 1 million to like 2 million in 24 hours because people, the polarization of just his picture, people just feel like they need to spew like hate
garbage
from like the money. Now I get it. If the only argument I won't argue somebody on is if you feel the way you feel, what his past was, you're valid. But if you're going to come up at me saying, well, he sucks. Well, I mean, he's 8-4 as a starter. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Now they're taking the 8th game away because he didn't win that game. The XFL quarterback did. So they give him 7-4. So you're literally like you're begging. You're just taking crumbs to diss this guy. Like he's 7-4.
And I'm with you. I'm totally with you. If you don't like him, that's totally fine. We're stuck with him anyway.
Yeah.
So that's for you. But if you don't like him, I get it. Like I would prefer to have a quarterback that's never been in any trouble. That would be great. But if you're going to take the fact that you don't like him to kind of twist who he is, like, oh, he stunk last year. It's like, no, he didn't stink last year. I'm sorry, like just because you don't like him, like he was playing pretty well before he got injured. And this injury is it's a fractured shoulder. Like it's a fluky.
He's getting paid $250 million. Go out there. I go to work sick. All right, man.
Yeah. I'm actually there's nothing more justifying to me than when he did try to play through it, and he's like, I'm just gonna get shot. Obviously, he took a pain injection for the game. He's like, I'm just gonna play through it, and he went out there and tried to throw a ball, and it was just like, and it was couldn't have been more clear. Like, oh, he's like,
he's
really hurt right now, and so as a PT, like that's always justifying for me because I'm like, that's what you guys get sometimes when you're like, why don't you just play through it? Because physically, you just can't. Like some guys, like you might if you're a running back or receiver and you can't physically run, or if you're a quarterback and you can't physically throw, or if you're a defensive player and your shoulder hurts and you can't close a tackle, that's the kind of thing that can lose you a game. So you just have to have a deep enough team for somebody to step in. But it was kind of crazy to be like, oh, he's not tough. And it's like, dude, he tried to play through an injury where he physically couldn't move his arm.
Like, did you see that interview with him and David Njoku? And his quarterbacks coach, his personal quarterbacks coach, he was like, hey, man, Njoku played through injuries as well. Obviously the burns. But then they started talking about Watson's injuries, and he's like, dude, nobody understands what the hell you were going through. Like, you were in pain. I watched it. I witnessed this. You were in pain, like agonizing pain, and you still try to play through it. We as Cleveland fans know what it's like with Baker, the shoulder, because that seems to be the Cleveland motive
Comparison,
now, is just shoulder injury with our quarterbacks.
Baker played through it.
Yeah, but look at him.
He lost.
Yeah, exactly.
He lost.
You can't.
I mean, I would have got to play through injury too, but if the injury makes you unable to win and then also unable to heal or get your corrective surgery or whatever it might be, that's not helping anyone. If it's the playoffs and you're like, my shoulder hurts and I'm getting off-season surgery anyway and my backup stinks, sure, go out there and give it your best shot. But in a Deshaun Watson case, it was like, dude, that guy can't play. Get him off the field, get that surgery done. Same thing Baker should have done his final year here. You can see you can't get it done. Get out of here, get recovered so that you can start Deshaun is starting the offseason. He's already throwing. He'll probably be doing some stuff at minicamp, even if it's just learning the plays with the coaches. He'll probably be throwing and participating all summer. And he can do that because of when he went and got his surgery. If he was just like, I'm going to try to just heal and come back at the end of the season, that very much wouldn't have worked out. Joe Flacco would have been able to outplay him at that point, and he wouldn't be where he is now. Like, you got to follow the correct regimen to get yourself better. And it's not a 1-year thing. It's a full career, full contract thing. We got a 5-year run with this guy. Like, year 2 is important. Years 3, 4, and 5 are just as important.
But us Cleveland fans are so stubborn. We don't want to wait.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
we are.
Just throw a Band-Aid on this dude and put him out there. We want to see this guy be great. And
our history doesn't help because we've been watching poo for a long time. So like, you want to just see your guys get out there and play. I totally get it. I don't think it has anything to do with even being out here. I think it just has to do with me being a PT and like being really tuned into the injuries. I think if I were not, I would be the same guy as everybody. I'd be like, get out there and play, because you just want to see this all come together. You had to sit through that suspension and you didn't get to see him play then. Then he gets this fluky random injury and you didn't get to see him finish when he was finally looking good. Like, it's frustrating, but it's a longer term plan than that.
The only thing that I have seen out of Deshaun Watson that I did not like so far is a new video that surfaced, and it said they're talking about him and his quarterbacks coach were talking about the NIL. And he was like, well, what do you think you would have got during the NIL? And he's like, my freshman year, nothing, because I was injured. My sophomore year, I would have probably got about 5-6 mil. Then my junior year, and he's like, the highest paid quarterback in the college series right now, getting paid by the NIL is $6 million. And he's like, I would have made 10. I'm like, dude, don't be cocky, man. You gotta take everything that you got right now and make something of it. You can't be that cocky, man. Yes, I'm not going to say injury prone, because he's not. Every scrambling quarterback's going to get injured. And I don't hope that happens to Lamar Jackson. I don't wish bad ill upon anybody. But exactly, keyword but, I would not mind seeing Lamar Jackson get wiped out this year, because I'm not saying he's cocky. He's not. Lamar Jackson is not. He's a great athlete. But I
mean, the cockiness you get out of Lamar Jackson is the fact that he believes in himself enough to not have an agent, to not sign a contract. Like, knowing his injury risk, he's not going to sign in the offseason. He's going to let the Ravens wait till they're going to maximize him. I would say he's just quieter about it, which everyone can annoyingly appreciate.
Yep.
Oh, well, if you're a Browns fan or a Steelers fan or a Bengals fan, yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying, right? He's
my stepson
obviously
just heard me
cocky
hear
because
Cincinnati
he
Bengals.
wouldn't have made the moves he's made if he wasn't just very overly assured of himself.
Yep.
So while we're on the subject of interdivision stuff, what do you guys think Joe Burrow is going to bring this year to the Bengals? Do you think he's going to come back after that hand injury and
injury prone?
Oh, he used the word. He used the word.
If there's anybody injury prone, it's Joe Burrow.
No, but they love him, man. You can't talk about Joe in Ohio, man.
I even like Joe. I hate to like Joe, but everybody likes Joe.
It's like hard to not like him, but
he's likable. It sucks.
My stepson actually loves the Bengals, and he loved them before Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, I don't know why. It's weird. But he's got a Burrow jersey. Me and Angel went live a couple times before you joined the show. And he comes up, and Angel's like, yeah, you just fade out. Just fade away, dude. Fade away like Joe Burrow's career. Just fade out of the background.
I just know he can't beat Cleveland, so I'm not too worried about that.
He's beat us once.
Joe's outstanding, but I do think that Joe, like, I feel like for a while people were like, yeah, it's basically like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, and I just don't see that. Like, I think this year, watching what his backup was able to do with the offensive weapons they had, it actually gave me a little bit of pause. And I'm not saying they're on the same level. I'm just the drop off between the Joe Burrow Bengals and the not Joe Burrow Bengals was a lot less than the drop off of the offense of like the Deshaun Watson Browns and the offense of the not Deshaun Watson Browns until Flacco, because Flacco had a miracle jump in. But I mean, when a starting quarterback goes down, you expect to see a team just out of it. And the Bengals stayed in playoff contention till literally the end of the season. I mean, they were playing for a chance to go to the playoffs all through December. And it was like, how is this possible when a quarterback that people were saying is like a top 5 quarterback at worst is not even out there? That being said, I do think he's probably awesome, and he'll probably be back to kind of make this division even more miserable to play in.
Well, what do you guys think about the Russell Wilson and Justin Fields Steelers extravaganza? Wait, first, I know I said we're only going to have an hour show, but we're almost 2 hours in, just for the record. We're covering all bases.
We should probably close this out eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
I'm not sure if the listeners like the Browns as much as we like talking the Browns, but, you know.
Look, my stepson's still awake, and it's 25 minutes past his bedtime. I don't even care.
They probably love wrestling. It's podcast day. Yes.
That's what he does.
He
knows he's got to be quiet, but he could do whatever he wants. So he's in his own little world right now. But yeah, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson.
I don't know what to think of it, to be honest with you. I like Fields enough to say, but I don't believe in Russell enough to go great. I'm interested enough because I would like to see, not just because Fields is a Buckeye too, but just to see if he grows and see what happens with that.
I'm so tired of watching Buckeyes go to the Steelers.
Yeah, so am I, dude. Hey, well, listen.
It's so frustrating.
Vrabel was a Buckeye and went to the Steelers.
They're always grabbing Ohio guys. It's
they do.
So frustrating.
But we suck, right?
Play football in Pennsylvania?
No, they don't.
They got
colleges of their own.
Pitt.
They got Penn State. They can't win. Then that was the Browns' fault for a while. They didn't draft anyone from Ohio, even in SEC. But it seems like this regime likes the SEC a lot. No, I'm interested. I don't know how well they'll be. Again, they have Tomlin. Tomlin won with like Kevin, one with different quarterbacks that you're scratching your head with, like, how are they winning? But I think Tomlin makes them better than what they are.
You just highlighted my only fear, because I don't have a huge belief in either Russell Wilson or Fields, but the Steelers found a way to win with straight poo at quarterback. And now they have two guys that, whether you believe they're going to be the guys they have been in the past or were drafted to be or not, they're better than the quarterbacks who have been there for the last 3 or 4 years. And this team has made the playoffs several times. That stinks so bad.
That's what scares me. Is like the people is like, oh, it's just Russell Wilson. I'm like, but he made the playoffs with Mason Rudolph and Pickett, and they're not even on the team anymore.
How the hell
Ben Roethlisberger, when Ben Roethlisberger was like a far off
literally, he was a skeleton.
His, he was so far past his prime, and they're like, how about one more playoff run? And so if he can do it with those guys, like, it is a little bit frustrating to know that they have two guys capable of much more. I wouldn't be surprised if they're both gone next year on the same note, though. But for this year, woof, that I was kind of hoping they were stuck with Kenny Pickett for a little bit longer. Really.
Oh crap! Hold on. So what's with the Steelers contracts is it's weird because Russell Wilson is only making $1.2 million for 1 year.
It's a joke that they were able to fall into that. What a lucky break.
Yeah, dude, they got seriously lucky. Justin Fields is making a little bit more. I don't remember exactly. I think it's like 3.5 million, somewhere around there. But here's what I think's going to happen. Russell Wilson is going to go in there because he's so used to that West Coast offense. He's going to bomb. He's going to be straight poop. And then I think they're going to throw in Justin Fields probably 6-7 games in. Mark my words.
Okay.
And they do have Arthur Smith. He's a good offensive coordinator. So I don't know if I'm gonna say Russell's gonna poop, but I don't know. I just don't know I don't know if it was just him and Peyton's just their chemistry sucked.
Peyton's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, I don't because he looked good at times.
Yeah.
Last year, and then he just was like crap too. So I don't know. I'm more fearful of Justin Fields thriving there than Wilson.
I mean, I think the reality is the deal stinks because him getting so much money from Denver allowed the Steelers just to give him $1 million, which, by the way, means that Denver has to keep paying him everything. So he did it despite Denver. The team that got screwed out of that whole deal is Denver, but they deserve it. They made the move. But it really sets the stage for them to be able to bring in a Justin Fields because they're not paying anything for quarterback. Like that's the one thing that, they lucked into this situation where Russell Wilson obviously wants to go there. He's like, they made the playoffs with who? Who? Send me there. I'm ready to go to the playoffs again. But with then because of that, he probably wasn't expecting Justin Fields to be walking through the door. But at the same time, it's like, he's pretty confident in himself. I don't think he's worried about Justin Fields, who's looked at right now as just a failed first-round pick. But I do think it is a dangerous combination. It's frustrating that I think both of them are better than all of the guys who have been on this team for a little while. And so only the Steelers, I feel like, as a Cleveland fan, get that lucky of a break where they can bring in two guys, a young athlete and a just past his prime superstar, and be able to get both of them on the same field.
And we often forget that they do have good talent outside of the quarterback. They got a good running back that seemed to be catching on his own last year toward the end, and they got two good receivers. I mean, Pickett itself, he's a head case.
I'm glad to see Deontay Johnson gone. They're putting a lot on Pickett.
Yeah,
it's not like they don't have anybody else there, but like they're putting a lot on Pickett.
And they can still draft another young guy. I mean, there's going to be plenty of receivers in the second round that can grab. So that adds to the fear. Is like they know how to draft receivers. That's evident.
Frustratingly, and as soon as so I was on board with Pickens. I know he was a nutcase, but like the talent was just, oh my gosh, amazing. I couldn't have passed on it probably at that point in the draft, even with him being a little bit of a nutcase. And then when they picked him, I was like, I knew it. I was right.
Yep.
As soon as the Steelers picked him, I was like, I knew it. He's going to be awesome.
He's going to be great. And
because they pick really well at receiver in every round.
Every round.
Second. First, no, because they never pick in the first. But
if there was 14 rounds, it'd be a 14th round receiver
Yeah.
on their team.
I just feel like no matter where they pull their receivers, they pull some. They know how to scout a receiver. So yeah, we'll see. I think our receiver room is pretty talented, and I think theirs got a lot less talented with the loss of Deontay Johnson and other guys over the last few years. But let's just hope they don't have guys that can get open quickly, because we've got a team that can get to the quarterback.
Yep.
I want to say the Bears are in the rebuilding process that we've been in for 2 decades now.
Well, with the receivers they brought in this year, and if their first round quarterback works out, they might have a real quick turnaround. But
yep.
The Bears.
But yeah, they've been in kind of quarterback purgatory as long as we have.
I sent you guys this earlier. I do want to touch base with this really quick and see what your guys' thoughts are, because me and Chad actually had to talk about it earlier. University of British Columbia left tackle Giovanni Manu visited the Giants, but he's going to come to Cleveland. It's a possibility. That's one of the 7 pre-draft visits that he had. He's 6'8", 352-pound behemoth. That's a big dude.
Big boy.
He ran a 4.96 in a 40-yard dash on his pro day. Chad, I want you to go first on this one, because
pro day.
Yeah, pro day, 4.96 at 6'8", 235 pounds, or 352 pounds. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm sure everybody is astounded. I get why they put it on there, because they're like, look at how big this guy is and how fast he runs.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to highlight how athletic he is. And of course, in typical skeptic fashion, my first comment is, why are they even having him run a 40-yard dash? He's an offensive lineman. He's more likely to be going backwards and running down the field. But I just will never understand why these guys are still running 40-yard dashes. Like, you're huge. I want to see like I want to see a 10 yards. I want to see like a shuttle. I want to see you move laterally. Can you pull? I want to see you move forward and backwards. Are you agile? My guess with a 40-yard dash like that is probably, but that's what I think we need to see out of these guys in a pro day is, show me the drill that most relates to what you need to do. Are you a cornerback and you might get toasted and then need to catch up? I want to see your 40-yard dash. Are you a burner receiver that needs to get down the field? 40-yard dash. Are you almost any other player on the field? Maybe I want to see cornerbacks, receivers, running backs, safeties, maybe a linebacker. I don't really want to see a 40-yard dash out of linemen or quarterbacks, or I want to see things that portray what they're going to be doing. I want to see a lineman. How fast is he getting up out of a stance? Give me a 10-yard split for him. How fast can he change directions? Give me a shuttle run or something lateral. Give me those cone drills.
Yes. Not only that, listen, Angel, do you remember when I told you we had a podcast, I believe it was right before you joined us, Chad. I'm like, I don't care what you guys do in a combine. I really don't. You could run, jump, and swim all you want. It's when you're in the game that matters most. What you could do during a game is what is going to make or break you.
My worry is they know that GMs and owners get excited about these numbers, and we know for a fact that guys get out of college and start training for the combine rather than football to impress at the combine. And it's like, I don't want you to stop training as a lineman for 4 months so you can run your best 40-yard dash. I just keep doing whatever made you an elite lineman in college, keep working on that. And you know what? We're not even going to look at those things so that you're not tempted to try to excel at them. I don't want to see you run a 40.
We need
Do
to
not
stop
train
the
for
show.
this. Don't drop 10 pounds. Don't get faster.
Right. We all agree way too much on things. We need to bring an argumentative point into this.
I mean, I would like him just to have an extra guy on the side there with Thanos, man. That dude's huge. I didn't see a picture till now. That dude is pretty massive.
They've brought in quite a few offensive line prospects, I think, in this process. I haven't been following it that closely because I honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm burnt out on the draft, but I'm like, I'm just kind of meh about never picking up top. And so this year was the first year that I didn't sit there and study prospects, because I think a mixture of not having first round picks and them constantly trading down in the second round when there's still somebody on the board that I had already fallen in love with,
Right. And
or maybe like 10 people who I'm like, ooh, I like all these guys. Who will we take?
that's
We've traded our pick to Houston or whoever, Philadelphia. And I'm like, no, I don't know anybody past the third round. We just traded out of the second.
That's another thing I did want to talk about, because obviously we haven't had a first round pick for the last 3 years. I'm sorry, the last 2 years and this year. Is that a reason, do you think, that we're falling out of love with the draft as Cleveland fans?
I think it's a mixture of that and not being just awful and picking in the top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to. You could be a team that hates the draft, and if you are, Atlanta last year, and you're all of a sudden picking up at the top, you probably get into it pretty quick.
Well, and that's like that Manu dude. They're saying that since he's coming from where he came from, that his schedule wasn't as tough, so they don't think he's really as great, so they think he's going to go higher in the draft. I don't know if that's for sure, because we're not going to know until draft day, obviously. But
scouts are pretty savvy. I think sometimes they look at competition pretty deeply. I mean, if you look at the Browns and where we've been drafting guys out of lately, I think a lot of that has to do with who the guys are playing. These SEC guys are top notch because you're watching them play pretty high competition. We've been drafting a lot for guys that are playoff team, college level athletes, and I don't think they're the only team. I think there's a lot of scouts that are like, I want to see a guy who's played guys. Not always. Sometimes Sky Moore comes out of the woodworks and like he just looks really athletic at the combine, and you think, I don't know, maybe he would be higher touted if he had played at so and so college. But I think these GMs are very much, the scouts might not be. The scouts might be looking at just talent, skill, potential. But I think the GMs are very much looking at where did you come from and who have you played and what have you shown me.
But you can find a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's always a couple guys who, there's always a Josh Allen who's like, I have no idea. He looked great, but against poo competition. And then what happens when he gets against real football players?
Interceptions.
And it just works. Yeah, well, yeah. He throws a lot of interceptions, enough to keep the Bills manageable, luckily for us. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think these GMs are pretty in tune to that. But I do think guys get affected by the noise. Like hype happens, and you can't help but see an Instagram ad over and over before you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll check this product out. So I just would rather that was just gone out of the game. Like, forget the combine.
Seriously, Angel's wanting to build hype. He'll either start hype or he'll, you know what I mean, Angel. You're one to either start the hype because he wants to be the first one to announce it. He does.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
He's like, sure. What can I stir up today?
Yeah. I mean, Facebook pays me to stir up hype engagement. So that's what I get, my little pennies every month in my bank account from Facebook for. That's why I like posting little, conversation starters and then stroke the fire and just walk away and watch people fight over.
Stirring.
But at least you have a 33rd team.
Then I'll poke back in. I'm like, what about this?
Yeah, I honestly, like I said, I'm shocked we agree on so much because I get in a lot of Browns arguments just because I feel like a typical, like the average Browns fan thinks of a lot of things pretty different from me. Like I said, I was very like, I don't want a guy to be tough and play through an injury. And I think a majority do. I don't want, I sometimes don't care as much what guys say off the field because I think a lot of it is just rhetoric but we'll see. Well, I'm sure we'll come into quite a few topics when the season's actually going where we don't all agree. But in general philosophy, I think we're kind of just being pretty measured and just like, looking at a bigger picture of things because it's the off season. It's easy to like look at the whole scope now than when there's like some emotion from a terrible loss in week 2 because Deshaun Watson did something stupid on a play that never should have been called in the first place. Like that's when it gets a little bit
testy.
a little bit more like subjective, where you're like, he threw an intercept. I mean, imagine the Seahawks fans when on the goal line they threw an interception to lose the Super Bowl. That half the world was like, why were you throwing? Right. It becomes this like, why did you throw? And they're like, well, it just becomes this situational.
During practice, it worked. It worked.
And it worked, yeah. And it's like, okay. But if he throws it and it's a touchdown, you're like, hooray. But like in the moment,
great
like
call.
I was on the if it were looking out of it now, I'd be like, well, you're not just going to run just because you're on the goal line because they're waiting for you to run and all this stuff. But from the scope of it at the time, I remember being like, dumbest play in history. Yeah. Dumbest play. Why would you throw? Like the mistake wasn't probably picking throwing, although I'd take the argument that it was. The mistake was that you picked a play they knew was coming and you totally botched it. But like now looking at it, I'm like, well, so off-season for me has a different vibe.
Say it. Come on. The Cincinnati Bengals fan wants to say goodnight to the show.
Oh my goodness.
Peace.
At least he's not wearing his Joe Burrow jersey tonight. I mean,
go grab it.
No, don't go grab it. Just fade away.
You're
fade away.
You're
watch this. Watch this. This is actually kind of cool. He fades away for real.
Speaking of bed, my kids are still up. So
yeah, I just had to tell him. I muted the mic. I'm like, dude, it's time for bed, dude. Your mom's gonna be home shortly. She went to book club tonight, and it's 9:45. Your bedtime is 9. You are still awake.
Probably texting me saying, "How did the kids go to bed?" I'm like, "Yeah, they went to bed great."
Dude, we have cameras in the house, so I can't even lie. Like, there's no getting out of that.
Technology has really buffed it up for dads.
You know what else is a bummer is it's 10 o'clock here almost, a quarter till 10. And it's dark as hell. I see it's still sunny out there in California.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only 6 something.
It must be nice.
I'm getting ready to go eat dinner.
I'm starving.
Baby.
I'm starving. I didn't even eat dinner yet.
All right, you boys get to bed.
Right.
Yes. Great show, gentlemen. Thank you guys again for joining us. We'll be live soon. Hopefully, I have to literally send Facebook, YouTube, all this information just to verify that we are real, I guess. So hopefully we will be live soon.
We are human.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Facebook and YouTube are, but yeah. But yeah, Angel, you got to send out the show the right way.